New talkSPORT Bet customers get an exclusive offer of £40 in free bets when you bet £10. Go to talksportbet.com/Inside Gooners to claim this offer now.
This time was, I think, the first time Liverpool have properly respected us. We graduated to being a top team because they treated us like one.
15 years old, getting minutes at Anfield is another level, isn't it? I didn't come away from Anfield thinking that there's a gulf between Arsenal and Liverpool.
I still want Eza. And thank goodness we got him. Does our approach sit better with you, Clive?
It does. That's the club I support.
Yeah.
And I wouldn't like to see what happens to, say, Conor Gallagher, for example.
Yes. Hello, I'm Adrian Clarke and welcome to Inside Gooners, sponsored by talkSPORT Bet. So much to get through today after a tough heavyweight clash at Anfield. There are a lot of contrasting opinions out there amongst the fan base. So joining me to help dissect it all from the weekend, I'm delighted to say we've got Clive Palmer and Simon Collings. How are we doing, chaps? Are we over it yet?
Yeah, I'm over it. I had a good sleep during the game. No, I'm over it. And it's been a really interesting game to analyse. And we were saying earlier, I think it reveals a lot of people's thoughts about the game and Arsenal as a club, right? So really good.
It does, yeah. Simon, you were at Anfield. What was your immediate gut instinct after the game? Because it really has divided opinion. There are lots of people out there that say this was a pretty good, well, very good defensive performance, and really it's just a moment of magic that costs Arsenal. Others are slamming Arteta, really, and saying that he's too defensive. What was your gut instinct telling you?
It's so difficult because it feels like, you know, with these performances, they're sort of viewed through the result, aren't they? And if Szoboszlai, you know, mishits that free kick and it goes out for a goal kick, I think we're sat here and having a completely different conversation, because defensively I thought Arsenal were brilliant. You know, Mosquera coming in after 5 minutes, steps up. You know, Odegaard couldn't start. There's no Havertz, no Saka. And I think if you'd said last season, Arsenal going to go to Anfield without Saka, without Havertz, Odegaard is on the bench, Saliba goes off after 5 minutes, and you lose 1-0 in a close game, I think people would have been blown away by that. So I think it's kind of an evolution of where the team is at. And for me, it was a really, really close game. Neither side really played like they wanted to win it, and a moment of brilliance wins it.
Yeah, I thought Slot nailed it, actually, Clive, afterwards, when he said, look, it was a boring game. Two very cautious teams. If he played it 10 times, 8 times it's a draw. Once Liverpool win it, once Arsenal win it. That for me, sums up what we saw. So can you understand this quite angry reaction, really, from a lot of Arsenal supporters?
I think the professionals, and the manager, and Arteta, they looked at the game really well. I thought his description stop was perfect, right? And it was that close of a game. I think in some ways, we've been to Anfield before many times. We've been beaten by many goals and conceded 20-plus shots many times. But this time was, I think, the first time Liverpool have properly respected us. And in all of our stats that we read, there's nothing there for discipline or shape. Both teams were incredibly well disciplined with their shape, aggressive when they needed to be. And I'm a sort of football nerd, so I love this game. I love going to Anfield and hearing the players pass the ball around rather than being in their washing machine going up and down the pitch. It was a totally different game. And I felt finally, in some ways, we graduated to being a top team because they treated us like one.
Yeah.
We never got the result, but we got a lot of respect from the Liverpool management, coaches and players. And, OK, I think we can discuss starting 11s, we can discuss how we reacted to momentums in the game, but step one, up until half-time, they had more concerns than we did.
Oh, definitely. I mean, you think about the half-time reaction at Anfield, it was so flat, wasn't it? I think it was the first time since 2021 they'd had that few shots on goal, very, very low XG. They'd basically done nothing, Liverpool. For me, they were just as cautious as Arsenal. Let's get to that starting 11 very quickly, Clive. What was your reaction to Marino's selection prior to kick-off, and do you think it was justified?
I was hoping Odegaard would play. I think he's a key player to recognise our momentum, recognise when to drop in, and recognise when to stay higher and connect the team together. I think he was a huge miss. When I saw Marino there, I thought, OK, what have we done? We probably built an off-the-ball team for the first phase of the game to manage what they thought was going to be a fast start. But what happened, we ended up with the ball, when we had an off-the-ball team. So we picked Martinelli as the other option. And so in hindsight, everyone said we should have played other players, for example. But I never worry about the starting 11 too much, Adrian. I always worry about the changes that you make during the game and spotting adjustments on your position quickly enough to nullify it. That's what I care about, to recognise momentums, which we didn't do.
No. What about Eze sitting out from the start, Simon? A lot of us, myself included, were super excited to see him make his full debut from the start. He went with Martinelli. I think, based on his performance, that maybe is something. If he had another go at it, Arteta, you think you'd start with Eze?
I think it's a difficult one because when the team came out, actually, Martinelli was one of the selections where, I was for it because I kind of thought Liverpool's fullbacks in those early games had wanted to get high, the space in behind. Martinelli, if you're on a counter-attacking team, he's who you want. And also his record against Liverpool is literally his best team. He's got more goals against them than anyone else. So I kind of really bought into that selection. With Eze, it feels like if this game was played in sort of 2-3 weeks' time, I do wonder if he'd be in that team. I think a bit more time settled in. But also, I'm sure we'll come on to it, but the changes and when they were made, I just wonder if that Eze change could have been just a little bit earlier. I kind of felt like Arsenal, for the first hour, were the dominant team. The momentum was shifting. I think Arteta maybe was sort of 10 minutes too late to kind of react to that.
Yeah, I definitely want to get into that. I'm going to pause that. I'm going to park that for a second and ask Clive about Gabriel Martinelli, because he's getting a lot of stick here at the moment. The transfer window is kind of closed now, not for everyone. I think the Saudi window is still open, isn't it? Yeah. What's going on with Gabriel Martinelli? Because there was that one moment, and I can still picture it, where it's early on in the game, he gets it on the counter-attack, and it's a moment made for Victor Gyökeres. Yeah. He can play it early, when he just gets over the halfway line, stick him in, or closer to goal, once he gets into the final third, he can then slip him in. And he does neither. He holds on to the ball. That, for me, was such a frustrating moment. What is the issue with Gabriel Martinelli right now?
He's trying very hard, maybe too hard, to make the right decision. I think as you get more experience, one of the things that you get from young player to more experienced player is you make more good decisions under pressure. Yeah. And what seems to be happening with him, we never worried about his decisions when he was younger, when he was scoring 15 non-penalty goals a season, but now he's starting to think about his game a little bit and those decisions. And that fraction of a second, that loss of instinct, that gap's gone, that runner's gone. And he's ended up going into areas where defenders want you to be. So he keeps going on the outside into the corner flag on his left foot and playing almost like he's playing for corners.
So how do we fix it? Is this a coach-player thing where Mikel's got to get into Gabriel Martinelli and get him to maybe think less and to free him up a little bit?
Yes. As we become more controlled, when he first came to the team, we were much more of a transitional team. We weren't so same authority at the back, but now we generally push teams back. Yeah. So now he's gone from being an off-the-ball player on the transition and being really exciting to now we want him to be on the ball and dribble people. And I don't think that's his game anymore. That's more of an Eze game or more of a Saka game, who are happy in crowd scenes, can make good decisions under pressure. He needs space. So he needs to say to himself, I'm an off-the-ball player. I need to make more out-to-win runs in behind the centre forward and really travel across the line and maybe force the game to his strengths rather than trying to play a game which is not his strengths. And if he is going to be get the ball to feet, then knock it and go. Play 1-2s and use your speed. Use what you have. He's got to work out what he has again and go.
But there was no one to play 1-2s with in this game because we had that muscular sort of midfield where there wasn't that connector. Because Gyökeres is on the shoulder of the defenders. There was no Odegaard in that hole to bounce those passes off to, or whoever it may be. So, I mean, where does he sit now in the pecking order, Simon? Because I'm looking at it and I'm thinking, well, Ez is probably the first choice. Madueke second, Trossard, Martin. Is he fourth choice?
I mean, it's really difficult for him, and I think part of it is kind of confidence based. He looks like a player who's in a bit of a rut, and I think it was interesting in the press conference. Arteta was sort of asked about Martinelli, and could he possibly leave? The window was still open at that point, and he was very categorical about no, he's not going, and also, stressed his importance about the different options he brings, and I think that was quite telling from Arteta to try and sort of lift him. I think with Martinelli, you're going to have Martinelli games and you're going to have Eze games, and this it should have been a Martinelli game really. It kind of didn't turn out to be the way it played out. But I think his value in the team will still exist. And I'm kind of hopeful that when Gyökeres gets bedded in, we know Gyökeres loves that drift to the left channel. When Jesus was in the team, that was something Jesus did, Martinelli comes in. If that chemistry can exist between them, I hope it will get something out of Martinelli. But I think he's a player that, off the ball, defensively, even in this game, he was brilliant. But that action in the final third is just not there at the moment.
Yeah, that said, a couple of times he did let Szoboszlai run off him for the disallowed goal. Szoboszlai makes a great run on the blind side of Martinelli, where he switches off. Yeah. And it was interesting, because what happened, to my eyes, at the start of the second half, was that Liverpool got a bit braver. They started to take up more unorthodox positions. And we saw Szoboszlai go from right back to number 10, and Van Dijk played a pass through the middle, and they score a goal, albeit it's disallowed. For the free kick that was given, that they ultimately scored from, it was another Van Dijk pass in between the two central midfielders, this time to Curtis Jones, who was kind of cheating. He was playing as number 10, when really he wasn't a number 10. He'd just gone and had a little wander. They freed up a little bit. I think Arne Slot made a few in-game tweaks that worked. Did Mikel Arteta sit on his hands a bit too long, Clive, in terms of smelling how the game had turned a bit and then flipping on its head by bringing those attackers on?
Yeah, I think Liverpool recognised that our offensive threat was waning. Yeah. So they went from a +1 at the back to man for man. Yeah. So when they go man for man, they're literally telling you, we are not as afraid of you as we were in the first half. And that was the moment you've got to recognise as a coach to say, OK, they're now putting Konate out there on Martinelli. I need to change this. I need to get Szoboszlai back home, back in the back four, by bringing on a player and recognise that. I think we are unfortunate the fact that I think Mourinho and Zubimendi ran out of gas at the same time. And I think Mourinho's selection was all about, can I get close to Van Dijk on the press, really, in the front two? Can I get to him and then get back in? I think that's why he got selected maybe over an Ethan, who's better on the ball than off the ball. So I can see the strategy there. But there was a moment there that we didn't take. And probably the reason for Adrian is the Saliba issue at the start of the game.
Yes, that one window had gone.
We lost one window. And what you have to do then, you have a decision to make. Do I use the half-time window, which is free, to maybe do the SA change then, or do I wait? And he's probably thinking, you know what, Timber and Calafiori have not done a 90 yet. I need to hold that. And he's looking around thinking, I'll hold. And that hesitation probably cost us. If we do Eze Martinelli at half-time, I think we change the picture of that game, we make Slot think a bit longer, and he's the coach that looks hesitant based on our new offensive phase, so I think we missed the chance there.
Yeah, no, I completely agree with that. I thought Madueke was great. I mean, if we're talking about positives, his ball carrying was so confident, wasn't it? Were you surprised that he got taken off? Because I didn't feel he really needed to be changed, and it was a shock to see Max Dowman actually come on for him.
Yeah, I mean, I'm sure we've spoken about Max before, but 15 years old, getting minutes at Anfield is another level, isn't it? Yeah, I thought Madueke was probably the best attacker on the day. I thought we gave Kirkes lots of problems. I thought he was direct. I mean, how long have we been calling for a sort of Saka backup or alternative? I think Madueke does generally look like that. The one that I wanted there, if Madueke was going to come off, was Ethan to come on. I just feel like, someone who's capable of, we've seen shooting outside the box, ability to beat a man. I mean, the Max one kind of felt a bit of sort of a throw of the dice, go out there, see what you can do, you're high on confidence, maybe it will come off. I was wondering just if Ethan in that moment, with cutting inside, and I thought Kirkes did struggle against Madueke, maybe that was the play. But this is the margins we're talking about, isn't it? It was so close, and just those substitutions, those changes, I think Slot got right.
We all love Dowman. I mean, Dowman's a wonderful talent, isn't he? He's amazing to watch. But I'm with you. I think that Ethan Nwaneri could have been that guy to come off the bench because he's got that goal threat, coming in off the right onto that left foot. I mean, do you think Arteta's fully sold on Nwaneri or not? Where is he in the pecking order? We just talked about where is Martinelli. Where do you think he is?
It's interesting to see how he's been developed this season. Against Leeds, I thought he had his best game in the number 10 type role.
He was good, wasn't he?
I thought he was really good, but not just good on the ball. We know he can take it on and he can dribble people and shoot. But he won a few duels in that game, which I've never seen him do. And so he needs to get trust off the ball to really play for Mikel Arteta. And I thought he showed signs of that. Not quite enough for Anfield, in the manager's mind, which is a bit of a shame. But I want him to be a versatile forward. I don't want him to settle on just being Odegaard's backup. I want him to say, no, I can play right. I need to develop maybe on the left side of the midfield as well, and try to develop his game at this period of time to add your value to the squad. If you're just going to be the Odegaard takeout, what happens is we all compare him to a 25-year-old national team captain, and that's an impossible comparison, right? So he needs to add versatility to his game and be more like Trossard. You see what I mean by that?
Yeah, well, on the right, he's got Saka.
Yeah,
so,
exactly.
and unfortunately, he's now got Eza as well.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of competition for Ethan. What about Mosquera? We've got to talk about him. Obviously, a real blow. I mean, we could go into it about the decision to play Saliba. You know, we weren't in the dressing room. We didn't know how bad he said it was. Obviously, it's a mistake to start him in hindsight. How do we think Mosquera played? Personally, I thought he was great.
Yeah, I thought he was close to Arsenal's best player, I think. Given the situation he was thrown into, you know, Anfield, 5 minutes into the game, you've not even started the game, you're coming into it like that. I thought maybe first 2 minutes or so, he was a little bit jumpy. There was one moment where he sort of drove into the middle of the pitch and he gave it away, and you could see Arteta on the sideline just sort of calm down. But once he settled, I thought he was brilliant. You know, he was confident. We've seen in the appearance so far, he's quite hungry to go for a duel, for a battle. He's not afraid to put his body around. Really, really impressive. And that right centre-back position has been a problem there. I mean, Saliba, I think, close to played more minutes than anyone for Arsenal in the Premier League last 2-3 seasons. So to have someone like that, who you can trust to bring on in Anfield, I think says a lot. And also the trust from Arteta to bring him on. So I wonder when he came on, I was like, I wonder if he might put Timber centre-back and just put him at full-back, protect him a bit. But he was like, no, you're playing right centre-back at Anfield. And I think that says it all about how much Arteta trusts him. And we speak a lot about trust, but he's clearly got it in Mosquera.
Yeah, he was sharp. He was sharp, wasn't he? He stays tight, he's sharp. He doesn't mind the race going backwards as well. He's good in the air. He obviously will improve on the ball over time. You have to remember, Saliba is normally our central centre-back, so he dictates how we play and almost where we play. Yeah. And I think potentially we missed opportunities to feed Madueke, but I'm just imagining that, right? Because let's be honest, when a kid comes on at Anfield for his away team debut, our hearts sort of sunk a little bit. Yeah. And then we just forgot about it, didn't we? Yeah. We forgot about it. He became part of the unit. I thought he had a fantastic game.
He made more accurate passes than anyone else in the Arsenal team. His pass accuracy was better than everyone else, everyone that started the game. So I think on the ball, there were one or two little passes between the lines, but he generally played it safe, didn't he? I think that will come. So when we reflect on this game as a whole, obviously great disappointment at the result, but what can we take from it in a positive sense? Because I know there are a lot of Arsenal fans out there that aren't feeling positive. I got on the train and the first thing someone said to me was, we're never going to win anything with Arteta. He's too defensive. That feels too knee-jerk to me. Yeah. What can we take as a positive? I
mean, I didn't come away from Anfield thinking that there's a gulf between Arsenal and Liverpool in the title race. I feel like those were two evenly matched teams. I felt like Arsenal have way more depth than last season, previous seasons. As I said, at the start, just trying to imagine Arsenal going there without Saka, Havertz, Odegaard bench, Saliba going off, no Ben White, and having a team that competes, like that level of depth. And also, even with those injuries, we're debating about the subs that were made and saying he should have come on, he didn't come on. So I think the squad feels so much more deep than it did last season. I looked at Liverpool and I thought, don't look as fearsome a team as they were last season. Still look like they're trying to hit their stride. I mean, Isak's coming in now. They look like a team that's still finding each other out. Yeah. So I think it was a disappointing result, but I didn't come away from that thinking that Arsenal can't win the title. Yeah. Similar, Clive?
Yeah, I'm just a bit disappointed that we weren't able to go there with all our tools available. Yes. Because you can see things happening on the pitch and you're thinking, OK, just if Saka starts, just give me that one. Yeah. All our left-sided corners would have been way better, for example. Yeah. Madueke would have played on the left and we'd have destroyed their fullbacks, And then you look at Zubimendi, who obviously tired. We've got Norgard for just this moment and he's not available. Yeah. Maybe this was more of a Havertz game to start the game and Gyökeres to come on maybe at the end of the game. We've got options, but they just weren't available to really power up the game.
Very quickly, I want to talk about Liverpool, surely, but on Zubimendi, we're not worried about him, are we, at all?
No. I think he's only third game, and he's worked out what the Premier League's all about. And in the last 10 minutes at Anfield, he probably couldn't see straight. And we couldn't change him.
But it wasn't the only one. I mean, the Liverpool players were going
Yeah.
down for fun as well. Everyone was knackered.
They were.
And it didn't look like a particularly fast-paced game, did it?
Exactly.
I mean, I suppose that's the tension of it all. Liverpool have signed Alexander Isak. They didn't sign Mark Guehi. So how do we view that? How do we view Liverpool as our title rivals now? Are they more likely to win the title now, or less, given that we expected them to get that extra defender in? What do we think?
Yeah, I mean, signing Isak is not the most bold analysis, but that's going to help. But it feels like before this game, if you were watching Liverpool, you think they're going to be a team that's sort of mindset of an old school Kevin Keegan, we're going to score more than you. And I think Isak plays into that. If I was a Liverpool fan, I would be worried about if there's an injury to Van Dijk or Konate, how are they going to cope? You know, if they had a situation Arsenal did where Gabriel was missing the last 2 months of the season, crucial point, who's going to step up? So I think great business. I think that's a new back four that's getting to know each other. Offensively, I don't think you can argue now that attack is crazily stacked.
Yeah. How are we feeling?
Yeah, Liverpool got issues at the back end of the pitch that they're solving, though. I mean, Szoboszlai comes in, plays 2 games there, 2
So irritating,
matches.
isn't it?
Where they found him from, you know, and so it's a bit frustrating. But Joe Gomez and Konate, they've got similar injury records to what we have, some of our defenders. So I think that's going to be a challenge for them. Kirkes is settling in. Physically, their fullbacks with Frimpong and Kirkes, I don't think they're strong enough. And a lot's on Van Dijk. So let's see how they develop.
Last night, the summer transfer window slammed shut, and what a busy window it ended up being at the Emirates. Gyökeres and Eze through the door, amongst others, has left Mikel Arteta with plenty of attacking options at his disposal. I mean, we have spent almost £250 million, chaps. It's not like Arsenal to spend this much, but I look at the squad now and I'm very, very happy with it. Are you?
Absolutely. I barely recognise this club because for every window, I've always got a few regrets. We should have got 1 or 2 more. It's the first time where it looks like we've covered everything, really. Yeah. We just had a bit of fortune with health and injury. I'm really pleased to see that we've approached this period when we've got players like Saliba, Saka, Rice in our squad, and we've invested in our squad to invest in their careers. Yeah. I mean, these are generational type players. We have to make sure they see Arsenal as a place to be, and we've done that, and the supporters can see that now. Now we just need to execute. I think it's going to put a bit of pressure on the manager to say, you have these tools now, how are you going to utilise them? Yeah. So need a bit of luck with health and injury.
Yeah, definitely. I think these players allow Mikel Arteta to rotate. So in a way, he is investing in the health of the star players as well, your Sakas and Salibas, isn't he? Because now the drop-off from player 1 to player 2 really is quite negligible.
Well, I mean, Mosquera is a perfect example. You would feel quite confident for most games, you know, if you wanted to rest Saliba, look at all those Carabao Cup games, some of those Champions League league phase games, and just say, look, let's just play Mosquera, let's give Saliba a midweek off. Yeah. Same with Saka and Madueke, you feel like, we can give him a rest now, which I think before, you could argue with Arteta. I know rotation has been a big thing that fans have moaned about, and you could say maybe the quality wasn't there, but I think now you look at that squad and you think you can rotate those players. And I think that's going to be a key. Well, that's going to be the question. I think before there was always an excuse where you could say, I can see why he's played him because he doesn't quite trust them. But now you look at it and say, no, you can rest him for that. You know, I remember last season going to Preston away in the Carabao Cup, and Saliba was just coming back from injury, but he's starting at centre back in Preston. You're thinking, come on, let's give him a night off here. Let's get these players in. And I think now they can properly rotate. And I think last season obviously played into Arsenal's thinking, hasn't it? The campaign was so derailed by injuries. And now it feels like they've built a squad that should, touch wood, be able to cope.
Yeah, because Arsenal want to win the cup competitions. We don't want to heavily rotate too much. We want to go a long way this season. Does the Champions League draw give Arteta a little bit more room for manoeuvre? Because there are a few games in there, Clive, that you would think, well, we can absolutely make 5-6 changes there and not be hurt too much.
There are, and many people are picking their best 11s, etc. But really, as soon as the Champions League draw goes in the schedule, you realise what a challenge it is from now till Christmas. Yeah. It's every 3 days, more or less. And I think there is opportunity there, and I think he's bought, for just this moment, I think the Champions League level of games now, to the previous group stage, is harder. You know, you do have some more serious away games, and it rolls round into January as well, which it didn't used to. So we have to think about the January as well. So I think we have the squad built for the long haul. And I think you're going to, with 9 of the 20 teams in the Premier League are in Europe this season.
Yep.
And I think that's going to have a significant impact on consistency of results. And we are built for that. So let's hope we get better.
And a lot of those 9 maybe aren't built for that. Certainly not used to it, are they? Yeah. We'll get to the latest new arrival very, very quickly, or very shortly. But what about Gyökeres? We've had sort of 3 games to look at him now. A mixed bag, I would say, to this point. What needs to change for us to bring the best out of Victor Gyökeres, Clive?
I think if Kai was fit, I don't think he'd be playing all these minutes. Okay. No, I think he'd be playing minutes, but he'll be able to be eased in a little bit more, right? So I think he would have played the Leeds game, for example, but I don't think he would have started at Old Trafford or Anfield. I think he would have come on in those games. It's about being fair to someone who's adjusting to the Premier League and a new team, etc. But now he's learning live in front of us. So against Leeds, I went to that game, I saw him and I thought, ooh, he looks okay. He's different to what we're used to. We're used to high-touch midfielder, wing forwards, that type, that have many touches on the ball, quite creative. He's somebody that really switches on in the key moments, when there's a chance to score. So he's a low-touch player. We're talking 15 touches if we're lucky, but he's got to have 1 or 2 shots. If you don't get the shots, people are going to question him. And that's the challenge for us, to adjust to him as a different type of striker.
Oh, we didn't create anything for him at Old Trafford or at Anfield. So is that an issue? What do you think needs to be tweaked?
Yeah, stylistically, they need to get used to playing, don't they? I think it's so different to have a striker who is... His one thought is just to get to the goal, isn't it? I mean, the Leeds goal is first a prime example where he's got that's not really a chance, and he just thinks, I'm cutting in and I'm shooting. I don't care what anyone else is doing. And you spoke about before that Martinelli moment where the pass is there and it's got to be played. I think it will come with time. It's going to take time for them to adapt to that. I think Odegaard should be someone who thrives of having a player like that. Eze as well. I mean, they're not exactly the same, but you know, Mateta is that kind of big, powerful centre forward. He's got that in Gyökeres. And again, a bit like with other positions, I think there will be Gyökeres games and Havertz games. And I think Leeds at home is kind of a Gyökeres game. This is where you want him to be. Anfield away, I think Arteta spoke about it after the Old Trafford game, actually, where the pressing wasn't quite right. And Havertz, people can pick faults, but defensively and leading the press, him and Odegaard are relentless. And I think there'll be games where it's a Havertz game. Yeah,
I was looking at some of the running stats, and Gyökeres is running more than pretty much any other striker in the division. He's running about 11.5k a game, which is what Rice runs. It's what Zubimendi runs. Is he wasting his energy, Clive, for the moment?
Well, he looked quite fit against Leeds. I think his numbers for against Leeds are really high. Yeah. I didn't think he looked quite as fit against Konate and Van Dijk. Was that the opposition? I thought...
Does he look sluggish? Or is it just my eyes? It seems like it's taking a bit of a while for him to really get into his groove.
I saw him in Sporting. I went to the game away in Europe last year and he was very sharp, very quick. I thought he stretched us a little bit. I'm going to hold my thoughts. Yes. I think he's still working to his levels. He didn't do a pre-season. He's not there yet. And I think fitness is a key thing for him. Repeat sprint ability is his trick. To keep going and going relentlessly. And I'm not sure he's able to do that yet. Though he's still clocking the numbers, right? So when he gets fit, what's he going to be like?
What about the new player then? Piero Hincapié has come through the door, Ecuadorian international from Leverkusen. I mean, it's like-for-like swap for Kiwior, right? Yeah. Is he a backup or is he a starter, Simon?
Well, I mean, the window couldn't close without Arsenal getting left-sided defender, could it? So Arteta's got his wish there. I mean, he kind of sums up the summer where I think it's been spoken about before that Arsenal had this sort of tier system with players and, you know, squad hierarchy. It's kind of gone a lot now. Yeah. You know, these are all competing to be starting. It's so competitive. I think Hincapié, the interesting thing about him is the left-back role we know is so key under Arteta. We saw the Zinchenko seasons, Lewis Skelly last season. Early days this time, we've seen Calafiori kind of more as an overlapping left-back. You know, he plays inside a lot, almost next to Gyökeres at times in some of the games. I think Hincapié will fit that mould as well. You know, he's a big, tall player. He wants to get forward. He'll get balls into the box.
He's quick, isn't he?
He is quick, yeah. And I think it's an interesting shift in how they see that left-back role. I think he can also play left centre-back. So, personally, I think he's an upgrade on Kiwior. I think it's the structure financially, the deal's very clever, the way they can sort of get it in next year's accounts. And yeah, I think kind of sums up how Bert has been in this window, being opportunistic and getting deals done.
Clive, do you think he's a better player than Kiwior? And on Kiwior, were you a bit disappointed that it's only a loan and the fee as well. Reported around, was it about 26 million euros? You know, I thought he was really impressive at the end of last season.
I think these 2 loans are loans with a nod and a wink. They're going to get accepted, sort of thing, and they counteract each other. So I think that's good, smart work by Berta. So I'm pleased that Kiwior's going to play football. He's a little bit older now. You need to play it. You know, Adrian, your career's short. You need to play. I actually see Hincapie maybe potentially as more of the outside player, and I can see Calafiori spending time at centre back and pushing out from centre-back, which he's happier to do. And then Hincapie almost ends up being either outside centre-back or we use him as a wing-back on occasions. And so I think it's a fantastic buy to open up more flexible options on that side. Okay. Again, Big Gabby, we lost him for 4 months or so. We can't keep running these people out, right? So I think Calafiori as a centre-back, I think that's a really good option. But it doesn't really matter, does it? They're so flexible. That's what we.
You said wing back there. Are we changing the formation?
Well, the reason why I said wing back is because he spent time as wing back playing for Bayer Leverkusen, and there are times, given the fact we've just bought a sort of left 10, that you want somebody on the outside of him, you know. And I think it's an option we didn't really have. Calafiori does it. But he does it in his own style, in his own time.
I thought the same thing because I thought, I really want Eze. Last time I was on this show, I was sat where you are, and we went through all the options with Ben Jacobs for left wing, because it looked at that point he was going to Tottenham. And I said, well, I still want Eze. And thank goodness we got him. But the one question mark I had was, you want an overlapping fullback with Eze because he's obviously going to drift in field. He's that guy really more than Calafiori, isn't he?
He is. Calafiori can do it. Yeah. He does it with a bit more of the Kieran Tierney punch. You know, he wants to punch through lines, attack it, and then whip the ball in. So it's a bit more traditional. But he's also can play in the back 3, which you've seen. Yeah. And I'm not sure about a back 2 so much. I haven't seen that, maybe for Ecuador, but I like him on the outside of our back.
Yeah. Big net spend. Biggest of all the teams in the Premier League was at £254 million. Net spend. Of course, it's a net spend fee that we're the highest on because we really didn't make any money on sales in this window. How do you feel about that?
Yeah, I mean, sales has been an issue for Arsenal for years, isn't it? I know. I saw a tweet this morning. I was coming down the train that Alex Oxlade-Chamberlain, 2017, 35 million, is still Arsenal's record sale. Which in an era where you see going around now, the fees that are being paid is quite crazy. And I think that's probably Berta's next step. I think he would argue the players he's trying to sell are from, an era before him. Yeah. The players on big wages, which is difficult in the market. You look at Chelsea and how great they are.
Well, I'll tell you, Chelsea, £9.5 million net spend, but they've spent 276 million. But they're only, they've only 9 million down. Have we got to redress the balance maybe in the next window? And how do we do that? Yeah,
I think, Chelsea spent like $1 billion a few years ago. Give them that talent base. They can now have net spend discussions where they spend. So I think over a period of time, they've spent a lot of money. But for Arsenal now, because we have this group of players, we're all going to argue about who's going to start. What we have is a squad of talent. So what this does now is generates players who are going to play all the time. When you're in the shop window, you can be moved. Do you see what I mean? What's happened recently, our ascendancy to a higher level has gone so quick, is that some players have dropped off. And if you're not being played, your value goes down. So we're crashing the value of those squad options. Yeah. So now we have this squad, we're all excited. They're going to play. If they don't play enough, they're played enough to get a number for. Yeah. I think that's the strategy for selling takes years to develop, and we are now on the first run of that to get to the levels where Chelsea.
Yeah, we've been a bit too nice, haven't we? We've held on to players too long that really that are not going to be starters moving forward. I think Joe Willock was probably the one where we sold when he was maybe at the peak of his powers in terms of a transfer fee. Look, what about the players that didn't go? There was talk that Trossard or Martinelli might go. How do we feel, Simon, about the fact that they've both remained? And of course, Trossard got himself a pay rise. Can you explain that one for us? Yeah,
well, I mean, I think for Trossard, he's obviously someone who came in on a wage of a sort of more squad player. I think he's outperformed what we expected from him. He's played a lot more than people thought. He's played as a 9 at times. He's played left. So I think he kind of earn that pay rise. I think it's interesting the fact that the contract wasn't extended, which kind of says something about maybe how Arsenal view him in the long term. but I think he obviously deserves a pay rise. That left side of the pitch is where I thought someone would go. Just when Eze came in, because of the numbers, like you said, you've got Madueke, Martinelli, Trossard, Eze.
It's an honourable thing to do, to say, look, we recognise that you have played better than your wages suggest, so we're going to bump your wages up. But without extending the contract, it's just being nice for nice sake, isn't it? Really, is it the right thing to do?
I suppose you could argue, would it be worse if you'd given him the sort of long deal when you weren't, and given him the pay rise when you weren't fully committed to him? You know what I mean? If they'd given him a new 4-year deal and actually gone, we actually don't want him for 4 years, we want him for sort of 2 years. So I can understand why fans find it strange. Yeah. I think it's part of it, he's earned that pay rise. I thought he was one who might go. I just kind of felt like at the age he was, the time in his career, he's probably not going to play as much this season as in the past, so I thought he would go, but he stayed, and I think he probably will end up playing a lot. He does invariably do that.
Aren't we going to crash the value of Trossard and Martinelli this season?
I think Martinelli's the one to watch, because right now he's sort of got a value. You know?
But we've just talked earlier. We think he's third or fourth choice.
But that could potentially disappear. Yeah. So Martinelli was the sale this year. That's where the numbers were. Yeah. Trossard, there's not a huge number there, and his value to the squad is probably greater than actually would be on the market. Yeah. You know, and what he's done over the last 2.5 years or so. But we've kept them all, and we've seen at the weekend that injuries do happen.
Unfortunately.
And so we just have to say, OK, we're going all in, we're investing in these players, and we're going to use them. Yeah. We just have to use them, Adrian. That's the key.
Yeah, that is. Yeah, he's got his hands full, hasn't he, Mikel Arteta, in the weeks and months ahead. A few have gone, obviously. Sambi Lokonga's gone permanently. Reece Lown's got another loan. Zinchenko has gone, of course, to Nottingham Forest. How do we assess these outgoings? Are any of these players going to make us regret moving them on or not?
I don't think so. No. I think the issue for Arsenal is that these are players that they wanted to move permanently. You know, Zinchenko, obviously, a year left in his contract. I think Reece, everyone would admit, has needed a sort of permanent move. Fabio Vieira, and they've all had to be loaned out, which is a frustrating thing for Arsenal when you look at the market and clubs doing business. I think for Berta, in terms of judging him on the sales, I agree with Clive about the new dynamic of the squad. I think you could argue with him that when he's now trying to come to the point where there's turnover in this squad, he would say, look at the calibre of players I'm trying to sell than players from previous regimes whose wages are high. You know, Chelsea is brilliant, but that's because they give long contracts and lower wages, so it's easier to shift these people around. I think Arsenal are finding, when you've got players on good money at a good club, you know, they're not going to go out the door so easily.
What model do we prefer then? I mean, you say from a business point of view, it's kind of working for Chelsea. I always laugh at these crazy long deals, 8-9 years.
It depends if it brings trophies, doesn't it? I know Chelsea obviously won the Conference League, but if it works in terms of bringing the trophies. But it feels like at Chelsea, you come in the door and you could be there 6 months and then they move you on. Yeah. But that's fine in terms of business model. You know, you keep the value of the player because it's not long where a Chelsea player's out of the team and he's there stagnating, losing his value, is it? They move them quickly.
Does our approach sit better with you, Clive?
It does. That's the club I support.
Yeah.
And I wouldn't like to see what happens to, say, Conor Gallagher, for example.
Yes.
Come through the academy, captured the club, and was expendable because of his PSR value, because he's an academy player. And I found that tough. Even as an Arsenal fan, I thought, come on, you should be trying to keep him. But they don't care. They're an asset management company, basically. Yeah. And they move assets around for profit. And so they've invested heavily over years, and now they want to be sustainable going forward. So that's their model, and our model is different.
Yeah, I was listening to Jeff Stelling on the Sports Breakfast, and he was picking his winners and losers of the transfer window. And he did his top three, and they didn't come in at 3, Arsenal, didn't come in at 2. And I was thinking, well, maybe they're going to be the number 1. They didn't come in at number 1. Wow. That's not how I see it. When I wrap everything up, Arsenal have got to be in the Premier League top 3 for transfer winners, right? Transfer window winners.
What more would you, if we were 3 set out, what do you think Arsenal didn't, in terms of incomings, you can argue about the outgoing sales, but is there anything they didn't do incomings-wise that you think they should have done?
Nope, I don't think there's anything. You can't sell people there's no market. So I can imagine a sale, and I can imagine another young player coming in, but if there's no buyer, then what are we worried about? You know, so I'm really pleased with what we've done. I'm really pleased with the type of players that we've got, the ages of the players that we've got. It sends a message. We've got some younger players, we've got experienced players, we've got some prime age players, which saying we're here to win. And so we're not embarrassed about that. Don't be embarrassed about we trying to win. Okay, we didn't win at the weekend, but there's a lot of games to go, right? So we should be embracing who we are, embracing the squad depth, embracing the fact that we are right there at the top end of this team, at the table.
Well said, Clive. I like it. Before we head into the international break, we may as well have a quick look at what's in store for the Gunners on the other side. A home fixture against Nottingham Forest before our Champions League opener against Athletic Bilbao. Forest at home then, after the international break. I mean, feels like quite a good fixture. It's one that you've got to respect, but based on Forest's last performance home to West Ham, got to fancy our chances of winning, right, Simon?
Yeah, I mean, it'd be interesting to see what happens with Nuno there. There has been quite a lot of discontent, hasn't there? And surprise of West Ham. I mean, we spoke about the team for the Liverpool game. I will be very interested to see what the team is for Forest at home.
Come on, then, let's play a game.
I think a lot of people going there, myself included, will be hoping that Eze starts and makes his own debut.
He's got to start, hasn't he, Clive? I mean, you can't go into that. I'm telling you now, if he's not injured and he doesn't start, I think they'll boo the team out.
The pitchforks will be out immediately. I think he's starting.
Yeah,
I mean, from almost his first touch at Anfield, it was like, okay, he's actually quite good, isn't he? You know, and so he's starting.
Yeah. So obviously we've dropped points. First points dropped in the season. It's a big game, and obviously we've got City to come, Newcastle away. This is a must-win, isn't it?
Yeah.
But there's Athletic Club Bilbao on the horizon. You go with. Obviously, you've got different teams for different games. We talked about that. You go as strong as possible, right, for Forest at home?
I think so. But with the other games in the background in your mind, I think because we dropped points at Anfield, the game I'm looking at is really Newcastle away. I think we have to get those points back.
Yes.
You know, and so I think it's important that we go there and deliver. City at home takes care of itself, and Forest, we need to go there and redress the balance. So strong against Forest. See what we need to do in Europe, but Newcastle's the one. We haven't done well there recently, and we need to change that.
All right. How many points do we expect to get from those three games? Let's pick the three. Forest at home, City at home, Newcastle away. What is the sort of minimum requirement? Give me a figure, lads. Come on.
7 points, I would say.
That's the minimum, but I think we can get 9. I really do. I think it's time to do that. If people not accepting a draw at Anfield. If you go to Newcastle, another difficult away game, and you don't win, I think you are really up for it. So.
Well, on that then, we've talked at length about Arteta being quite defensive at Anfield. He gave them a lot of respect, and I absolutely understand that. I personally thought it was the right approach. He just wanted to flip that tactic on his head a little bit earlier to go and get the goal. Newcastle is a bogey team. Newcastle is a ground Arsenal have been poor at. Will he go there respecting Newcastle and worried about them, or does he go, and really assert our authority? How do we see that?
Well, hopefully Saka's back by then.
But do you think we'll attack the game?
I think we will.
Yeah, okay.
I think we will. I think personnel really makes a difference. I know it sounds crazy, but if you've got a 3 behind a striker of Saka, Eze and Odegaard, I'm sorry, you're playing that way.
Yeah.
It doesn't really matter, right? You're playing there. Why would you change it? Why would you have Saka by the corner flag at right back? You're playing that way. You've got 2 players, Eze and Saka, who can receive the ball, control the tempo of the game. Then you've got Odegaard, who's a connecting player. You're playing their way. You know, so it's going to take care of itself. We have the people, we just didn't have them at the weekend.
Yeah. So it was the wrong time to play Liverpool. Is it the wrong time to play Newcastle? Because they got San Voltamada, they got Wissa. I think Gordon will be back only from suspension by then.
First game back.
So
and they've not got Isak at least, who I think
this is true.
Last season, more than Haaland, I think Isak was the one centre back who gave Gabriel and Saliba problems than anyone else. And Arsenal fortuitously haven't played Liverpool with Isak, and they're going to play Newcastle without Isak. I do think in terms of the momentum and where this season is going, winning at Newcastle, which is a place where Arsenal have, recently lots of bad memories. would be a statement of intent, even if this isn't maybe the Newcastle of last season. But you know what you're going to get there. You know exactly the game you're going to get at St James's Park.
I can't believe we haven't spoken about Manchester City. We talked about Forest, about how big a game that is. We've spoken about Newcastle away. We've just skipped City at home as if, like, well, that's just a routine home win. I mean, I know that we spanked them 5-1, Clive, but it's still a big old game. That was our first win against them for a while.
Am I being too naive there by missing them out? I think I just bought the goalkeeper that we don't like. You know, Donnarumma. I think he broke our hearts last season, didn't he? Hey, look, they're obviously a good side, but I think, again, all these teams have frailties, right? And City's frailties are definitely in the back, in centre midfield, their ability to travel. I don't think they've fixed it. I think they're happier going one way. They expect games to be as they want it. Yeah. And I'm afraid that aura has slipped a little bit. Yeah. And people are going for them, you know, and we're going to go for them. So
are we?
Oh, absolutely. We're at home. I'm not falling for the narratives.
I'm just teasing you, Clive.
I'm not falling for it. I think we're going to go for it, and I think we're going to be fine against them. Newcastle, when I worry about, I said earlier, City, the rivalry's there. It sort of takes care of itself, doesn't it, City? I think we're going to play our natural game against them, and they're going to have moments. Right? They've got a centre forward that's not bad, is he? So.
No, he's all right. He's half decent. Before we wrap things up, what about the injuries? Obviously, it didn't seem like the news was too bad on Saka or Kai Havertz. I suppose it's too early to say on Saliba. I don't know if you've heard anything.
Yeah, I mean, he's pulled out of the France squad, which I think was quite expected. Yeah. France described it as a sort of ankle sprain. Okay. So hopefully not too serious. I mean, it was obviously okay enough that he felt he could play in the game. Yeah. So I think a 2-week break isn't the end of the world for that. And I do wonder whether, you know, we talk about these fixtures here, whether Arsenal will be looking at City and Newcastle and thinking, if he's not quite right for Forest, look, we can play Mosquera in Forest and Bilbao, and then we need him for City and we need him for Newcastle away.
So we need Saka and Havertz back for those games as well.
I'm not sure if Havertz is going to make it, but Saka needs to be back. Yeah. And I think he's an interesting player. Obviously, he's played a lot of football in such a young age, and Madueke is a blessing signing for us to protect this young man. It's our responsibility, we really do.
Yeah. Well, look, it's been a pleasure chatting to you today, boys. Thank you very much. I enjoyed that chat. That's all we've got time for on today's Inside Gooners. Thanks for your company. Big thanks again to Clive Palmer and Simon Collings. We'll see you next time.